This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vasugi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vasugi, and we're so thrilled to be back with you for another episode. Arash, how are you doing?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you?
I am doing great as well. And today we have an interesting topic. We're going to talk about proximity and how important is proximity to creating success or a massive breakthrough?
I think it's very important because if you look who you spend your most time with, there'll be similar income ranges, similar health. So you want to create a circle of great people. And it's funny you bring this up. I was mentoring one of our clients yesterday, and she was asking me about proximity. And I said, if somebody wants proximity with me, they have to earn it. That's just been how I've always thought about it. And I think you don't learn to do something until you do it. So I don't want to give people proximity where I'm dragging them along, that I want it for them more than they want it for themselves. Because just like everybody, I'm very busy. And my time is very valuable. I want to work with the people who really have authentic desire to get better. And so proximity, I could take you back really decades. And I remember people ask me all the time, like my mentor, I've been very open about it. I feel like he was such an enormous impact in my life, and Bob Proctor. People will ask me all the time, how did you get so close to Bob? I never had any desire to get close to Bob. It happened organically because we were made from the same cloth. And him and I used to talk about this all the time. But I remember the first time he called me, it's because he recognized my results. And that was like, he never had proximity with people who didn't do it. And I never focused on, oh God, I got to get him to like me. Oh, I never focused on that. I just focused on doing the work. And, you know, your circle is very important, who you're spending time with. A lot of people are spending time with people just out of habit. Like, I don't spend time with people that are not goal achievers. I don't spend time with people who complain. That's just not what I do. I just choose not to. And if you do, that's your prerogative. We just have a different philosophy about it. I just choose not to do that. But you will become who you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think masterminding is so valuable. I think mentorship is so valuable. I think learning from people and dissecting them. One of the things that I teach our clients, you want to have prepared questions if somebody's further than you and you're wanting to get advice from them. Don't just come up and tell them how great they are. Like, really use that time wisely. So there's proximity and there's intentional proximity where you're using it your time so valuably.
You know, Raj, when I think of proximity, I think of 4 different types of proximity. One would be your immediate circle, who you spend the most of your time with. Another would be your network, your mastermind group, who you're networking with. It's maybe outside of your inner circle, but someone that you're doing business with, masterminding with, growing with. Outside of that would be your mentor or someone who's achieved a goal that you want to achieve, that you're looking to model after. And then the third would be proximity to, or the fourth would be proximity to opportunities, right? You have to find yourself near the opportunities. What do you think about each of those? And is there different things you have to do to pursue each one?
I don't think they're different. I think it's the same. It's your attitude towards them. A lot of people never get proximity because they're afraid to ask. Mm-hmm. And the biggest fallacy is, so-and-so is successful in this area, they're too busy. But the most successful people, if it's authentic success, they love helping people who want it because they used to be that person. So I think it's our attitude to ask boldly on what we're wanting. That's how you're going to create proximity. It's like any relationship. Like mine and your relationship, we didn't know each other. And we created proximity because we had the same outcome that we wanted to have. And then we got to know each other. Well, that's any relationship. There's certain clients that I'm closer to than other clients. Why? Because they ask for it. They have a stronger desire. Your circle, what I've found out over the years, I sound like I'm Stone Age. I'm not. I'm 47. But, what I found out is my circle has gotten smaller and smaller. Because as I've grown, my tolerance has gotten a standard to what I'm willing to tolerate. And I think it's important to understand you don't need 1,000 people. You need quality in your life. And you look at the 4 quadrants that you were talking about. Like I have a very strict standard to who I mastermind with. If somebody is not going to show up regularly, they're not going to be in my mastermind. I have a very strong standard towards who I share ideas with. And I always want to share ideas with people who are going the same direction or much further than me. And, I invest in mentorship just as much as I mentor people because we all have blind spots and we all grow and we all want to grow. We have to have an obsession to grow. And the people who have the greatest proximity are the people who want to grow the furthest. And it's not about ego. It's about how you want to live. One thing that I'll tell you that is the prequel to all of this is, what do you really want? It's such a polarizing question because we have to get extremely aware and become excellent in knowing what we want. See, that's the prequel to everything. See, if somebody says, "Oh, I want to get better," that is a terrible answer. It's a terrible answer. We have to define where do we want to get better. And we want to become excellent at it. I've changed my attitude about this. I used to think, just ask the opposite question, what don't I want? Then I said, no, that's not the answer. Let's hold yourself to a stronger standard because now you're coming from the negative. And I don't think we should ever come from the negative. I think we should hold ourselves to a standard because I've studied this in so many different ways, this question about want. And it relates to proximity because if you don't have a big want, you're not going to desire proximity. And why do people not know what they want? Because they don't think they can achieve it. That's the only reason they don't know what they want. We're want creators as humans. And we know what we want to eat. We know what we want to drink. So when we say we don't know what we want, I think that is not an accurate answer. I think people don't commit to a want because that means they think they put themselves on a hook and they're afraid that they can't achieve it.
Would you say that the value of your proximity or the level of your proximity is equal to your willingness to get uncomfortable?
Oh, well, for sure, because when somebody's much further than you and you want to learn from them, you have to put yourself on the hook. And I think you got to be vulnerable with yourself. I always talk about honesty is such a key to success. We have to be brutally honest with ourselves. A lot of people don't want to be brutally honest with themselves because they're not ready to hear the truth. And if you have somebody who is real in your life, and when we talk about real, that could be a great friend, that could be your spouse, that could be a business partner, that could be your mastermind group, that somebody's willing to call you out on your bullshit. Say, no, this is your gap. You want to take a look at it. Now that is somebody who has your back. Somebody who's always a yes person, always agreeing with you, they're more focused on whether you like them or not. I want people in my corner that are dogs. I want people who say, listen, I'm watching you. You're excellent at this. I want you are helping so many people up your game. Like, we want to have, there's a great quote, and it's all over the Bible, that iron sharpens iron. And there's nothing more accurate than that. That's why proximity is so important. You get better when you're around better people. When you get better when you have a circle of people who care for you so much that they're willing to stretch you.
Yeah.
If you ask me, one of the key components of a successful life is who you surround yourself with. It's who you surround yourself with. I was telling my kids the other day, I said, don't surround yourself with kids that don't make you feel good. Don't surround yourself with people who are not rooting for you. And I said, you get to choose this. Forget about them. There's going to be thousands and thousands of people in your life, and you get to choose who makes you feel good. I'm teaching in proximity at the age of 10 and 12 because I wish I was taught that at that age. And maybe I was, but it wasn't emphasized as much, that it never went inside of me. But I want everybody to think about, who's your go-to person? If you had one call, that person would answer. That's your proximity. And I hope you have more than that one person, because that'll tell you how well you're developing relationships. Relationships are very important to develop. And positive relationships are so important. One positive act every day is activating abundance in our life.
On that note, I want to loop back to a point you made earlier, which was not taking advantage, but making the most of the proximity that you have, being prepared for proximity. And you just talked about relationship building, which is probably the best way to make sure that you are making the most of proximity. What are your thoughts on how can you make the most of whatever proximity you have?
Well, you always want to be prepared, but you always want to come from a place of giving, not getting. And when you're prepared and say, I'm watching what you're doing, I'd love to pick your brain. Would you be willing to let me take you out for coffee and ask you a few questions? Nobody would say no to that if it was framed properly. Mm-hmm. So I had a client message me. I don't know this person. And they messaged me on Facebook. They said, I'm coming to Scottsdale. Would it be too much? And you can say no to this, which they should have never said. But they said, would I be able to take you out to lunch? And I said, it's a great question. And you don't know how few people ask me that question. But because he asked, I said, yes. I said, as long as I'm in town, I'll do it. But that's somebody getting out of his comfort zone. And what's the worst that can happen? I say, no, I don't respond. That's the worst. But we want to start being prepared. Be prepared with the questions you ask yourself. Be prepared with who you want to pick their brains. Like my brother is so good at building relationships. I call him the mayor of Scottsdale. Like, he's so good at it. And I swear, everywhere we go, he knows somebody. He is tremendous at it. But it's a skill, and any skill can be developed. Any skill can be developed. I have a great client, Bob. He calls himself my second Bob. And he's in his early 70s. He's great at relationships. We were talking about it. This guy took himself from the bottom of UPS to the top of UPS as an organization, sold multiple companies. And I love picking his brain just as much as he loves picking my brain, because you can leverage experience. You can learn from everybody. If you're spending time with somebody, I think the most important characteristic you can have is making them the most important person in that hour you're with them, in that 20 minutes you're with them. And really come from an authentic giving perspective. And the relationship's going to grow, opportunities are going to grow, and you're going to attract more opportunities to yourself.
I love the way you answered that, because it kind of flips the coin, where instead of looking at who is in your proximity that you can gain from and learn from, you're also looking at how you can be valuable in proximity to others for them.
Yeah, I think everything is about giving. I think the reason the top 1% of the top 1% is a number of reasons, but one of them, the one common denominator is they're so outward focused on leaving the other person better off than they found them. Like every day, that's one of in my morning rituals, that's one of my strongest intent is I want to be focused on leaving every single person better off than I found them. If you are coming from a giving, you're going to receive at the highest level. And you don't do it to receive. It's just natural. It's naturally what happens. But this is a big part of my philosophy. I know it's a big part of your philosophy. And you can give in so many ways. But when we make it about us, when we make it, what can I get? It's a very repelling energy. And you're not going to have a lot of people that have a high level of understanding, high level of awareness in that proximity. You'll make it, proximity will be a part of your identity.
Yeah. All right, let's get into an action step for today.
Okay, this is going to be one that I want to make people uncomfortable. I want you to reach out to one person that you've been dying to reach out to and ask them to go for coffee, ask them to go to lunch that you'll pay for, and position it properly that you want to learn from them. Who would you love in your proximity? And that's what I would recommend you do.
I love that action step. All right. Thank you, Arash, and thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's lesson, please leave us a rating and review. Share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the 7-Figure Standard podcast. Thanks, Arash.
Thanks, Margie.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.